Hey everybody, Pastor Chase here. We are going to be voting as a church next Sunday, May 19th, for our annual business meeting for over a proposed constitutional amendment from our elders. And so it's hard to believe that it's already been a year since we put our constitution in place. We've installed elders, we've rolled off as an autonomous church. All of that stuff seemed to be happening so fast, and it's already been a year since all of that happened. And so we are officially ready to make our first proposed constitutional amendment, but we realized this week we actually haven't given the why behind this proposed constitutional change. And so I asked one of our elders, Doug Fury, if he could hop on a Zoom call with me, and we're just going to discuss why we wanted to propose this constitutional change. So if you would, check that out. All right. Well, I am here with one of our elders, Doug Fury, to talk about the constitutional or the proposed constitutional amendment. Doug, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chase. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, let me go ahead and read. Let's read this together. I'll read at the beginning, and then if you want to read the second part of it, but the proposed change that we have to the Constitution, and then we can discuss it a little bit. So the first part is a minimum age requirement for membership. And so it says, membership at the Corners Chapel shall be open to individuals who are 12 years old and older. Additionally, any individual seeking membership who is under the age of 16 must obtain parental or guardian approval and be vetted by the Board of Elders before beginning the membership process.
And then the second part of it deals with eligibility for voting on church matters, because as we know, members of the church are responsible to vote on certain things as specified by the Constitution. So the second part says voting eligibility. No member under the age of 16 shall be permitted to vote on church matters. And then also in regards to implementation and enforcement of this change, the proposed amendment says a record of members' ages and voting eligibility shall be maintained as part of the church membership roll.
Awesome. So yeah, in summary, we're saying that that people can become members before they're 16. 12 is kind of the minimum age requirement, but between 12 and 16, members would not be able to vote. So, Doug, maybe if you want to kick us off by just starting talking a little bit about kind of the process of how we wrote the Constitution and how we kind of came to this decision or the need to put a minimum age in the Constitution.
Yeah, sure. So when the church constitution was written, actually one of the things that we spent a good amount of time on due to its importance was the qualifications and responsibilities of members of the church. And this included things like the membership covenant, which our members are required to sign. And I think it's such a great description, just biblically, a picture of what members of a church should be to one another. And but as we went back and thought about it some more, one thing that really wasn't included in the original Constitution that probably should have been was a discussion of minimum age requirements for members. And it's a pretty important consideration because we really don't want to exclude potential members who are young but mature enough to benefit from membership. But additionally, again, members have very important decision-making responsibilities through their votes, such as approving pastors and elders. So we also want to make sure that we're ensuring sufficient maturity and experience when it comes to voting on church matters. So that's kind of what brought us back to this subject.
Exactly. Because, for all of us as elders and hopefully for all of the members in our church, we realize that the most important aspect of church membership is salvation. And ultimately, only God is the judge of that and knows if someone truly is saved. But as best as we can, we want to make sure that we're making sure that people who are becoming members of the church have a credible profession of faith and can articulate the gospel and know what it means to be a believer. And so that's most important. But at the same time, we have to put something in there about a minimum age. And so one of the things we were talking about actually right before we started recording this was just about how one of the reasons we chose 16 as opposed to, say, 18 when someone's considered a legal adult is because we want those who are younger and mature to be able to know that they don't have to wait until they're legally an adult to be a full Christian, right? That they are a Christian now, that they're part of the church, but we want them to be able to be mature in the decision-making process as well, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I guess really an important consideration for us is we do not want to exclude younger people just because they're young. We really want to make it possible for younger people who have a mature enough faith to benefit from being a member of the church, and also for the church to benefit from having them as members. We don't want to make it such that they can't participate in that. And but at the same time, one of the things that's really important is to acknowledge the role of parents in the decision making about this whole process as well. So that's why in the proposed amendment, it's made very clear that for prospective members under the age of 16, their parents would be involved or guardians with the elders in making the ultimate decision of whether that's the right path for them to take.
Awesome. And yet I want to build off of something you said there with regards to baptism, but as we talked about, or as you just mentioned, not wanting to look down on those who are younger. I mean, that's straight out of 1 Timothy, right? 1 Timothy chapter 4, as Paul is writing to Timothy, says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." And so Timothy at that time, not to turn this into a sermon or anything, but would have been older than the youth that we would be talking about. But at the same time, the principle still applies that we want those who are younger in the church, even the youngest, to start to show signs of spiritual maturity and realize that they can live after Jesus's example and start to follow him from even a young age. I wanted to mention just quickly a little bit about baptism as well, because in our Constitution and in our membership covenant, baptism is a requirement for membership, but membership isn't a requirement for baptism. And so we're not saying by adding this this age requirement, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page. We're not saying that in order to be baptized, you have to be 12 or you have to be 16. In fact, we're not putting a minimum age on baptism, but the age for baptism or the determination of whether someone would be baptized would be in conjunction with the board of elders and parents for those who are younger, and making sure that they can articulate the gospel. And then one of the things we want to be intentional about is those that are baptized, say under the age of 12, we would want to make sure that they are being discipled and being shepherded to serve and to to be a part of the church, even if they're not officially members, so that when they are of age to become a member, they're ready to go. So we're not just baptizing people who are younger and saying, okay, wait until you're 12. But we want to be walking with them as they're growing in faith as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, Chase. I mean, we see in our church so many examples of younger people who are just absolutely hitting the ball out of the park when it comes to serving and doing so with just real faithfulness, real Christian hearts as they either help out with the kids or help with setup and tear down or whatever it is they do. So, yeah, I think one of the mistakes that's often made with younger people is feeling like you can't treat them like they're capable of great things, of doing
Exactly.
mature things and abusing, in the church, especially the gift that God has given them, even from a young age.
Yep.
So I think that's really important to keep emphasizing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so just so everyone knows, this is what we are going to be voting on at next week's membership meeting. So on May 19th, that's when we'll vote together. And so anything else you want to add, or do you think we pretty much covered all the bases there?
I think we pretty much covered it. I just extend my appreciation to everybody again as members. This is one of the really important responsibilities that we have. So we appreciate your thoughtful, prayerful attention to this matter. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions at all about this amendment, any concerns, anything you want to talk through with any of the elders, you can send us an email at elders@thecornerschapel.com. And we would love to talk with you sometime between now and the time of the vote. And just one more thing, just to let everyone know, one of the things that I really appreciate about all of our elders All of these decisions that we're proposing for the church are not just made in a vacuum, but there's a lot of time spent in prayer and in the word about all of this. And so all of the men around the elder table, we've been praying about this, and we're excited to bring this before the congregation. So Doug, thank you again for jumping on this call, and thank you guys for watching this video, and we will see you at church on Sunday.